So back around 2013, there was this weird thing on 4chan's paranormal board. Some random person showing up claiming that they were an alien living here on Earth, and they called themselves Myziam. Which, yeah, that sounds exactly like the kind of thing you'd expect on 4chan, some LARP or troll or whatever. But here's where it gets interesting to me is that people in this thread started asking them for proof that they're an alien. Like, all right, if you're really an alien, show us this coordinate on Earth, show us the moon, show us this place on Earth. And Myzium actually posted photos. And the thing is, these photos weren't found anywhere else on the internet. Not in the NASA stock photos, not Google Earth, not even weird forms, just unique images that didn't show up on a reverse Google search. Which, even if it was fake, still meant that someone was going out of their way to make this convincing. So, of course, as the internet does, people freaked out and some bought into it, and others were obviously skeptical and said, nah, it's a hoax. Eventually, some guy came along and did an AMA and he claimed that he faked the whole thing, but he never actually provided any evidence that he was Myzium, as far as I know. He just said that he was, but that was enough for most people to go, yeah, the case is closed. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that Myzium was real. In fact, he probably wasn't. I don't believe that Myzium was real. So, Myzium wasn't real. He was more of just like an interesting, elaborate hoax. And that's not what stuck out to me. What stuck out to me the most is that people needed to fit the whole thing into a box of their own preconceived notions. Like, they had already decided that this was either an alien, a hoax, a simulation, a LARP, or staged, or whatever. And most people were going from their assumption and reaching out to find evidence that verified their assumption via confirmation bias. And that seemed like that was the majority of the way people were expanding their minds out to talk about Myzium. Okay, so before we continue, quick little disclaimer real quick. This video is not about proving or disproving Myzium or aliens in general, or the evidence or anything even regarded to that. This is instead a conceptual breakdown of the idea that I'm trying to extrapolate about paradigms from this one situation to illustrate a point. So I'm taking an absurd example so you can see it easier, because in reality, it's usually over a much more complicated background, so it's harder to spot. And I just wanted to make sure you guys understood that, and I did not write out this disclaimer, you can probably tell, but anyway, I am not arguing for Myzium, and we are back. And the interesting part here isn't the alien story, it's how people reacted to it. Almost nobody was really weighing the evidence. They were just picking a side first. This is fake or this is real. And then they were scrambling for reasons to back it up. That's not open-mindedness. That's just locking in a conclusion and then dressing it up after the fact. It's not about truth, it's about comfort. And sure, you can absolutely say, I think this because of X. That is fine. We all do that. But saying, I think this because of X is not the same thing as saying this can't happen because of X. Those sound related, but they're not. One is an opinion held lightly. The other is a hard wall you've built into your worldview. That's where people get stuck. They confuse unlikely with impossible, and the truth is, nothing is impossible, but plenty of things are unlikely. Once you anchor to impossible, you stop even seeing evidence. You don't evaluate it, you just bend it or ignore it until it fits the story you've already told yourself. And that's what makes Myzium useful as an example. Not because it's proof of anything, but because it shows us how quick we are to slam the door shut instead of actually leaving it cracked open. Because everyone thinks it's rational that there might be aliens out there, but no one thinks it's rational that an alien came to visit us. That's why I like the Myzium thing. It's dumb, it's absurd, it's probably just some guy having fun online, but it's a perfect example of how not having a truly open mind can mess you up. Like, if you start off already locked into there's no aliens on Earth, or yes, there are definitely aliens on Earth, then you're not actually looking at Myzium. You're just holding Myzium up against whatever your worldview already is. And here's the thing, what you believe about reality has actually zero impact on reality at all. Reality doesn't care about what you tell yourself about reality. But people accidentally blur the line. I don't think there are aliens because of these reasons slowly mutates into there are no aliens because of these reasons, so you are wrong. And those aren't the same thing. One's just your perspective, the other is a wall that you have built. And that's where stuff slips through the cracks. Even when you think you are being open-minded, the second your brain hits something that pings as too absurd, you've already dismissed it. You're not testing it, you're waving it off. And again, I'm not saying Myziam was real, and this is not an argument for that in any way, shape, or form. I don't think he showed up here or anything like that. I'm just saying that the absurdity filter in your head, the one that auto-labels certain ideas as impossible because they conflict with your worldview, that's the thing that blinds you. Not just with aliens on 4chan, but in way more complicated and important parts of your life. And that's where paradigms come in. Paradigms are just the frameworks we already live in. The invisible rules we decide what counts as believable, what counts as possible, what counts as normal. Like, take science. For a long time, the paradigm was the Earth is the center of the universe. That was the box. So when astronomers started seeing stuff that didn't fit, they bent it until it did. They weren't lying, they weren't dumb, they were just stuck in their own paradigm, and it's the same thing today, just with different boxes on a much smaller scale. And the thing is about paradigms is that they don't bend easy. They'll let you be curious inside the bubble, but the second you hit something outside of it, no, it gets tossed. Doesn't matter how strong the evidence is, if it doesn't fit the frame, it won't be accepted. For example, if you're taking measurements of the solar system, but you are factoring in the idea that the Earth is the center of the solar system, that is factually wrong, but you're going to stretch the math to meet where you're wrong about. And even though you think you're right, it doesn't make you any less wrong. So, that's why most people aren't as open-minded as they think. They're not exploring, they're defending. They're just shuffling puzzle pieces around inside the picture they already believe is true. And you can see it in stuff with, like, you can see it with the Myziam stuff, which it's absurd, yes, but it's a stress test. It shows how fast people retreat to the safety of their paradigm instead of saying, huh, that's weird, maybe I don't know. Because what it really is when people claim to have an open mind is that they're saying, my worldviews can stand up to immense scrutiny, so go ahead, I'll listen to you try to challenge my worldview as I give you a rebuttal, as opposed to just saying, huh, reality's pretty weird, let me factor all the evidence together. This isn't telling you to go out and start believing every crazy conspiracy theory. That's not what the point of this video is at all. It is simply to recognize the difference of walking through life with a truly open mind as opposed to walking through life with a guarded worldview that's willing to take a beating. And at this point, I've ran out of script and I'm going to continue with it. And I realized that I've never done like a proper introduction on this channel, so I guess now's the time. If you're still here, I really appreciate you being here. I'd be extremely grateful if you could comment, like, subscribe, and all that stuff. Just boost the engagement. It really helps me out a lot. I'm trying to get started. So I have severe ADHD and some other issues to boot, but I don't want to get into it at the time being. So I'm not neurotypical in any way, shape, or form. So my entire life I've been watching the world and having to understand it in my own way, in my own shape, in my own form. And I've done my best to try to articulate it, and I'm a much better writer than I am a video maker, but I'm trying to get into the video making space because I believe it's a beautiful way to share ideas. And that's what I really want to do. I want to explain the world back to people so that way they can see it how I see it. Not to say that my view is superior, but just sometimes if you get a different perspective, you can see a problem you didn't realize you had. And it comes from a spirit of goodness. And I want to be good, and I want to do good, and I want to improve the world. And all these videos are just to encourage people to think deeper about themselves, the things they do, the things they say, the things they think, why they are who they are, all that stuff. I want humanity to be better because I believe we can be. Just because we struggle to be better doesn't mean that we can't be better. And I think that we should endeavor to be better, even if we don't believe we will become better, because it's better to try and say, look, I couldn't do it, than to just say, I can't do it. That's my opinion anyway. So I'm trying to work through the process right now of getting better at creating these videos. I'm sorry for this one. I just really wanted to get this out. I know the writing's not perfect. I was kind of on a time crunch. I have some busy stuff to do in my life, and the editing is very minimal. I'm currently trying to work on either working with an editor or getting better at editing myself, so that way I can keep, doing this and get better at it, hopefully. And again, apologies for rambling at this point. I would just ask that if you like this sort of content, like you like thought forms, philosophy, all that stuff, I'm kind of just doing a self-discovery philosophy, I guess. I'm going to coin that term right now, is that I am aware that there are many works of philosophy, like writers and stuff like that, and I've read a lot of them, and I don't mind what they've put out, but what I want to do is I just want to, what do I make of meaning and why and thoughts and how by myself? Like, what is my own philosophy? I think is what I'm chasing. So yeah, that's what this channel will be. I'm trying to figure out the best balance between rambling / script, because there are some scripted videos that I don't really like. If anyone in the comments is like a more experienced video creator or whatever and wants to help out, that'd be appreciated. All I ask is that in the comments, if you have any criticism, just let it be constructive and kind. And yeah, that's about it. I think just like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend if you like this sort of stuff. Watch my other videos. It really helps. Would really like to be able to make this into a more successful platform to foster intelligent conversation about the future of humanity, because right now the world's not great and people need to do better. We have freedom, yes, but in that freedom we've allowed ourselves to rot. And I'm not exempt from this in any way. I'm not saying this is like from a pedestal or anything like that. I'm in the rot with everyone else. But with all these technological advancements like the internet and AI and space and everything, change is coming and we need to get ready for it. So we need to start thinking about how we're going to be better, and we need to think about ways to get rid of our bad parts of ourselves. We know about our pitfalls. We know that we have greed. We know we have issues with power. We know that we're narcissists. We know that we have pride. And the future doesn't care if we figure it out or not. If we meet the day and we're found wanting, then we're just done. That's it. Gone from the universe. And bye, Felicia. We're not owed anything. So I think it's important that we have some grown-up conversations and think deeper about the things we say and what we mean and who we are and our place in reality, and to debate all that and to discuss it openly. And the best way to do that is to just deconstruct ourselves, to understand ourselves, and then build ourselves back better. And then we can start having a better world. And I truly, truly believe that the more we talk about deep thoughts and the more we talk about stuff like this, I promise I will do my best to get refined. Currently, I'm not being treated for my ADHD. That should get changed soon, so it's probably bleeding into my work. I apologize again. Thank you again so much if you're still here. Can't believe it. Let's change the world.